Great. Cyber Power of Tigray is welcoming the Tigray Professional Network members. Most of them are leaders. And today, Cyber Power of Tigray, we will ask those young Tigrayan American young Tigray Professional Network about the current Ethiopian situation, because I know you guys had a plan, a dream to visit Tigray every year. So I'm going to start with that right now. What does that makes you to hear Tigray is in a bad situation when you guys had plans to visit Tigray every year because you don't want to forget your root? I'm gonna leave this question at the end. But just to start with, in April 2018, Ahmed came to power on the promise that he will lead reform to overcome the deficit raised by the nation and nationalities of Ethiopia, several political and social economy issues. But unfortunately, however, Ahmed chose to adopt the style of the dictator of Eritrean Isaias Afwerki, who has now become his mentor, right? And he betrayed the public trust. Abiy Ahmed has transgressed himself into a predatory dictator in a short time. And most of the political parties, Ethiopian from all walks of life, has been opposing. And Abiy Ahmed moved towards one-man rule and have been calling for a peaceful dialogue. However, Abiy Ahmed refused a peaceful political dialogue, as you remember, and instead he started war in Tigray along with Isaias Afwerki. So, how do you guys explain the real current situation now? At the beginning, I know they have said that, oh, we don't want to have anyone to help us to control the junta TPLF group. But I think United States is confirmed now that the foreign countries like Eritrea are involved, and they have urged to leave Tigray alone. So tell me about this, what you heard and what you know. And I don't know if you guys heard that in the world that a prime minister is asking a foreign leader or soldiers to kill his own people. Thank you so much. You can start with, I will start with Hayalon first, and then Mahalet, and then Sanai, and then Rahel. Thank you.
Brother Ephrem, first, I want to thank you for continuing to give us the opportunity to share what we are seeing and also how our people are feeling regarding the current situation. And to all of you who have had family members so far that have been impacted, we're with you. We still have not been able to contact, at least for myself, any of our family members as well. But if you were able to, and you may have seen a loss in your family, our prayers and our thoughts are with you. I think the situation on the ground right now is dire. If you think about where we were probably about 20 or so days ago, the Genocide Watch or Alert already put the situation in Tigray at a level 9, which is extermination. It's one of the highest levels you can reach. So if we were there more than 20 days ago, you can only imagine what it is today. And so the situation on the ground is deteriorating really, really, really fast. We have upwards of 50,000 plus refugees that have migrated to Sudan, which is putting an immense amount of pressure in the Sudanese infrastructure. So it makes it tougher for them to be able to provide shelter, to provide the necessary food, aid, and etc. But there's a couple of questions I want to ask. I don't care what side you are in, whether it's Tigray, whether it's TPLF, or whether it's with the federal government. The first set of questions is, if Abiy Ahmed was really serious as a prime minister when he said this is about rule of law and that it's going to be a precision or a precise attack on 3 days or maybe a week, my first question is, if that's true, why do you need to block humanitarian aid to a region that has more than 10% of its population, over 600,000 people, who already had food shortage? If that is true, why would you cut off aid? Second thing is, why would you cut off electricity and power? And then why would you cut off the water source that the people desperately need? And then why are you preventing individuals, independent journalists outside of the country to come in and actually see and help us understand what is going on the ground? If it was truly about rule of law, why were those things necessary? And the second thing is, why did you need to bring in a different country that has its own governance, that has its own independent structure? Why would you invite them in to be a part of this? If this was truly about rule of law, there's something demonic that's going on in that region where the Tigrayan people are being targeted, whether it is profiled in the different parts of Ethiopia right now, and asking, even there's news that are going on where you're asking the general population to provide part of their income to fund this war, where you're actually really killing and terrorizing your own people. This is not about rule of law. I think we've gone way beyond that. There's something much greater that we are trying to face right now, and our people are dying. And the last thing is, why would you shoot at UN workers? Why would you target humanitarian workers that are trying to, a minimum, provide the support that the people that are suffering need? If you can kill the people who are just trying to protect normal civilians, and you're targeting them, and there is news now where it has come out where there are people that have died, humanitarian aid workers that are being targeted, you have reached a new low. So to our congressional leaders, to our world leaders, anybody that has power or influence, there's no way you can now sit back idly and watch and say this is about rule of law. We have crossed that line. There is no way that Prime Minister Trudeau would have disagreement with one of his provinces and invite Mexico or invite the United States to collectively attack one of his own provinces. That wouldn't make sense. If that happened, the whole world would be crying right now. Why isn't the world crying when brown and black children are dying? What's the difference? Same thing in the European region. If Germany had disagreement with one of its neighbors and invited other in the EU to go attack it, no one would stand for this. Why is it acceptable in Ethiopia? So I really hope that we're able to actually come together and kind of figure this out, because it's going to continue to get worse. It's not going to be 50,000. Eventually it's going to be 1 million, 2 million, and it's going to spread throughout the entire region if we don't stop this. Abiy Ahmed, you've done something that is so inhumane, that this will be something that you'll be remembered for. You will be remembered for things going forward. Not the person who was supposed to unite us, not the person that won the Nobel Peace Prize. You won't be remembered for any of that. You've destroyed that image. What you will be remembered for is the person who has starved and killed his own people for the mere benefit of you trying to feed the power hunger that you have today. It's pretty clear now. It's on the rest of the world now to figure out how to stop this.
Thank you. Thank you, Hayolo. Please, Mali, continue.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ephrem, so much for having us. I would echo Hailom's just remarks on, our prayers and our thoughts are with all of our families in Tigray. Again, I, for myself, have not been able to reach any of them, but we are with you all. We are in this together, and then please stay strong. As far as Eritrean involvement and outside involvement, it's truly disgusting. There's really no other way to put it. It's very disheartening to see what's happening, and honestly, it truly negates the whole. This is an internal law enforcement operation that's meant to be. Somehow the world is separate from Ethiopia in this moment. In this moment, Ethiopia is, this center of rule of law, where they're going to punish a certain group of people, yet or a certain what they claim as a political organization. Instead, they're using it as collective punishment. So when you bring in a foreign government to kill your own people, essentially. You no longer have the argument of this is separate from the world. You cannot have UAV drones bombing people in Tigray and tell me that this is an independent, internal thing that has nothing to do with the rest of the world. So I think it's important that the world really wakes up at this time, at this moment, and takes action, concrete action. We've had a lot of world leaders, senators, congressional members really voice their concerns, which we appreciate very greatly. But I think at this point, when we're almost at 40 days, we can no longer call this an internal thing about Ethiopian sovereignty. When people are dying, and when we have quite literally, we don't know if our families are alive or dead right now. So I think that's a very important thing to distinguish. And I think going forward, I would really, really plead and ask our collective community to really push for world leaders and congressional leaders to actually intervene and call for action at this point, and instead of simply concerns, because we do appreciate the concern, but right now we're at a level that's more than concern. We truly need action.
Thank you, Mahalet. Thank you. Senai, please.
Thank you, Ephrem, for inviting us. Thank you, Highland, Mahalet, and Rahel. Back to your question, Ephrem. You talked about what led up to this. You know, Abiy Ahmed has been in power for the past 2 years, going on 3 years now, and there has been a sharp decline in Ethiopia overall as far as safety, as far as more ethnic tensions, ethnic profiling. And now currently, like Mahalet highlighted, we're already on day 39. This is day 39. Again, communication blockage, you know, electricity is still cut off. Banks are still closed, you know. People are dying. We don't have access to our family, you know. To be honest, I haven't even told my dad that they keep bombing Abiy Ahmed left and right. You know, it's very unfortunate that this is happening. And you know, Abiy Ahmed is colluding with a foreign power to attack us. And we have reports on Eritreans' involvement in Tigray. We have reports of them looting and stealing. You know, it's just an atrocity. You know, and we've already talked about UN workers being shot at. You know, the question is, what is Abiy Ahmed hiding? What is he hiding that we cannot have independent third-party investigations coming in just to make sure humans have aid? You know, we've already highlighted over 50,000 refugees have fled to Sudan. You know, there's no communication. I have communication with individuals in Addis Ababa, and they're telling me they're being profiled. They're telling me they're not safe. They're telling me, sometimes you have no idea that they're laughing in our face, they're dancing, they're waiting on our downfall. And that is very unfortunate. And we're here together to put more pressure on the international community, pleading for help. You know, why is the U.S. Selling these drones to the UAE when the UAE is continually dropping it on us? You know, and it's not only us. There was the situation in Armenia. You know, this is a genocide. This is a genocide, and the world needs to wake up. And we are making a difference, you know, with Tigray Professionals Network, even the Tigray community in general. We are tweeting, we are writing our elected officials, we are calling them, we are leaving messages. And what is our message? Number one, we want to end the conflict. All sides, we need to cease. We need to stop this. We need to come together and talk about how to move forward. And that's where we're at. You know, it doesn't take a rocket science to say no to war. However, as hard as we're working for our loved ones, the voice of the voiceless, there's an entire side that's working against us, that is promoting the war, that's supporting Abiy Ahmed, that is supporting Isaias Afwerki. You know, what about the 100,000 refugees that were in Tigray, the Eritreans? You know, they were safe. We were taking care of them. You know, and now there's more reports coming out about Isaias is collecting them back. So we have to have this conversation. We have to continue to fight every day, and I'm thankful that I'm here, that I'm blessed. You know, my parents, they went through this the first time. There's a reason why I'm a diaspora abroad. This is a tragedy. You know, I cannot stress the fact that how sad this are. But we have hope. We have hope in one another, and I pray that we can get through this. We will. Thank you, Ephrem.
Thank you, Sanai. Rahel, please continue.
Well, thank you, Ephraim, for having us. I guess kind of what all three of them were saying. I know it kind of sounds redundant, but we all feel the same way about the situation. I think for the people that are pro the war for whatever reason, which I can't understand why, it makes me wonder. Everything Abby has said has been lies, and they've been proven lies. Like, if it was about trying to capture these TPLF people, why didn't he get them when they were in IDs when he fired them? Like, they were there. So why did you wait till they go back to Tigray and then say, oh, we're going to do that? If that was the case, why are you bombing civilians? Why are you telling people, oh, if you stay inside, you'll be okay? Like, why do you, and that was just dumb, because bombs don't work that way. If you drop a bomb just because they're in a building, they're still going to get attacked. So I don't understand, like, how can people be for other people being killed, people being hurt? Like, it's crazy. If it's just about capturing these people, why did you have to get rid of the internet, the electricity, like any communications, telephones? Why was that necessary? Why did you wait until the world was fascinated with what's going on in the US and this election here to want to sneak and do this? If it was something that you thought was legitimate, if it was legitimate, why are you being sneaky about it? Why are you hiding things? Why are you kicking the press out? Why aren't you letting UN and aid workers get into these places safely? Why are they threatened with their lives? And even with that, it makes me wonder, are you threatening the aid workers so they would leave, so they won't help, so Tigray would continue to suffer? Like, I just don't understand all of it. And each day it's something new, and it seems like it can't get any worse, but it is. And we need the world to pay attention. We don't want another Rwanda. We don't want where everyone turns around and it's like, oh, this happened under it. Like, we don't need that. We need people to step up. We need people to do something, sanctions at the very least, like punish the country for what they're doing. And then maybe he'll want to sit down and talk and want to stop what he's doing. But right now he's able to do it. Like, and he claims that it's an internal thing, but why is it internal when people are trying to help Tigray and help stop this, but it's not internal when it comes to bombing and killing them? So we need Congress, the UN, the EU, everyone that has power, influence, sanction, do whatever you can within your power to make them stop.
Right. Thank you so much. So yeah, right now, because he's not going to stop, because he's killing our people with Eritrean troops, whatever he can get help with UAE drones or anything, even if he find a nuclear, I'm sure that he's gonna kill everybody in Tigray. This guy needs to go. But what's the purpose of having United Nations? That's my question now. What are they doing? As you know, from the beginning, like I don't know if I remember you, or if you remember what we had conversation back in August. We're talking about the US Congress member wrote a letter to the Honorable Michael Pompeo, State Secretary, expressing their serious concerns. He never heard. Pompeo also did not hear from some of the US congressmen's concern. But now, finally, they just understand that the Eritrean troops are already in Tigray killing people. After 34 days, I know they have satellites. I know they've seen all that. They have evidences. All the celebrities in the United States, all the high officials. This is not for the first time. Things happened. You remember Rwanda, the genocide of Rwanda. Are we waiting? Right now, it's the same Rwanda, but in a different way. They are choking them. There is no electricity to eat. There is no water to drink. There is no hospital. All hospitals are almost closed. They cannot do any surgery. There is a lot of wounded Tigrayan by different high guns and helicopters and drones. So what is your message for the United Nations? I was asking, I personally need the UN troops to go immediately now, and they need to keep them on the border of Tigray to protect Tigray from Ethiopia and also from Eritrea, because Tigray is already betrayed by Ethiopian Prime Minister. So on this regard, I want you to say something that you heard and you think for those high officials of the world. Thank you so much. I will start with the same, with Haylam and go the same row. Thank you so much.
Thanks again, Brother Ephrem. So I think the first thing I want to start with is by a recent report that the UN released, where it said that now the Tigray state has almost depleted all of its emergency reserves when it comes to food and aid. And if you recall earlier, when I mentioned that nearly 10% of the population, over 600,000 Tigrayans today, already didn't have the necessary means, both from a food and from medical perspective, to even sustain life before the war. Now that they've exhausted their emergency reserves, you can only imagine how much worse it's going to get. And if we think about, to your question, as I look at the UN mission, it says the maintenance of international peace and security. One, they protect, again, it is the maintenance of international peace and security. So the security of the entire Ethiopian region and Horn of Africa is going to be destabilized. So that's number one. And then number two, the idea of peace. There is no peace in Ethiopia right now. Right? So UN, this is your mission. That literally is on your side. That is your mission, peace and security, and both are failing right now. And then you're supposed to protect human rights. The Prime Minister, Abiy, has trampled human rights. You're supposed to deliver humanitarian. And you mentioned yourself that Tigray has depleted its emergency. So how can you force the Ethiopian government? How can you pressure them in order to release that? And then promote sustainable development. That cannot happen, right? Unless you create peace and security in that region. And then finally, it's upholding international law. So the Prime Minister has broken all of these international law. He is on the verge. He is actually now a war criminal based upon what his activities are. And so to your question, yes, the UN can do a lot, but it requires the biggest nations and contributors for them to force the issue, one of which is the United States of America. So the current administration, you're just sitting by and idly watching. And I know everybody loves Obama. Obama failed when it came to Syria. He had an opportunity to intervene and prevent this. Now the current administration, if Trump doesn't do it, maybe it's the Biden and Kamala Harris, you have an opportunity now to reverse course and not allow what has happened in Syria, where millions of lives were destroyed, where millions of people had to seek refuge. And to put an immense amount of pressure in the European system, where they, for the first time, were questioning the idea of accepting refugees. If you think that put an immense amount of strain in that system, you're talking about a region or a country alone that is almost 7 to 10 times larger than Syria. You multiply that across all the other Horn of Africa, now you're talking about going from 27 million to several 100 million people. That is going to put a strain in the various government and international communities. So this is the mission of the UN. And I think they are trying, but unless the biggest nations, especially the EU and the United States in particular, they're the largest, unless they can collectively come together and put pressure on the Prime Minister, it's going to be difficult even for UN to do its job, because the Prime Minister can kick them out or prevent them from doing anything. So I really do urge, because the way we think about this, and we're doing this in solidarity, and we are really aligned on this. It is not about TPLF or the federal government. All of that is meaningless. These are titles. These are things that people use to kind of create divisions amongst each other. What matters the most to us is the human toll and the human impact. As Sanai mentioned, the reason that I am also here in Diaspora is because my parents, when they were, and my grandparents, they had to flee Ethiopia and migrate to Sudan, and I was born in a refugee camp. And we have now millions of other children that may go through the same exact thing. Like, we have not learned. And so, Abiy Ahmed, I don't know why you were one of the individuals who were part of fighting this 30 years ago. You were fighting against this. What has happened? Where did you lose your moral compass? It seems like he's not listening. So the rest of the international community, if the UN, if you're not even able to uphold your mission statement, which is a simple sentence, if you cannot even uphold that, then yes, your mere existence is going to become into question now. So I really do urge all those who have the power and the influence to actually really put pressure on the Ethiopian government to figure out how to stop this, because Sanai mentioned this earlier. Our primary goal is stop the war and ensure aid is being provided to the people who need this the most.
Thank you, Haile. Mahalit.
Absolutely, thank you. Yeah, so I think it was a few days ago, actually, that the UN High Commissioner put out a statement to reporters saying that they had corroborated evidence of like blatant human rights abuses, and even like reports of sexual violence towards women, abductions that were happening, Tigrayan youth being used or forced to fight against their own communities. So when you already have evidence of this, the UN, we obviously know that they're not blind to the situation. They know what's going on. And I think more of this right now is, as Hailum stated, getting these bigger powers to actually pay attention and feel like this is something that this is worth stopping immediately. Like, this is not something we can really wait for. And I think that's the urgency, that sense of urgency is seems to be lost upon certain administrations, like the current US administration. But I would honestly, the only message that I would really have for them is, you have the evidence, you have evidence of foreign involvement. This is the time to really stop something that could turn into something as big as the Rwandan genocide. And like Rahel had said earlier, we don't want to look back at this a few years from now and say, oh, why didn't we stop this when we had the chance? So I think it's important that we value human life. More than anything, this is not about a political party or political ideology. This is about human life. Our people are quite literally dying every day. And as people are, there are individuals, aid organizations that are trying to help. They're getting attacked. And so I think even the UNHCR put out a tweet yesterday saying humanitarian workers are #not a target. You cannot have people who are in dire need of help, of which the UN has evidence of, and then in addition to that, see the Ethiopian government shoot at and kill several aid workers, and not feel the moral duty to do something about human lives that are being lost quite literally in the dark. So again, pleading to the international community, this is not something you can ignore or look away from. History is truly watching. So again, I would implore you all to take action and actually intervene at this point.
Thank you, Mahalit. It was a great idea. Senai, please continue.
Yeah, absolutely, Mahala. That was great. The international community does seem to be slow. Like we've already highlighted before, we don't want another Rwanda. We don't want another genocide in the Congo. And here we go once again, begging the international community to lend assistance. And back to your question, Ephrem, what can the UN do? It would be nice if they can deploy some troops there, some peacekeeping troops, to get humanitarian aid in there, to stop waiting on all these people that are dying daily, abuses. It's just a shame. And when it comes to the UN, legally, there are some laws that Abiy Ahmed is breaking, along with Isaias Afwerki. Like, for example, in the UN it says, the forcible return of expulsion of refugees is specifically restricted under framework of 1951 Convention, 1967 Protocol. This is Article 33 of 1951 Convention. It states, no contracting state shall expel or return a refugee in any manner whatsoever to the frontiers of territories where his life or freedom would be threatened on account of his race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group or political opinion. So why is Abiy saying, oh, bring these refugees back, I will take care of them? How can we believe that? when you're the sole reason why they happen. The misinformation coming from the Maikadra massacre, and not an outside credible source to verify that. Why is Isaias Afewerki attacking us from the north? If the Amhara elites keep saying they hate TPLF, this war is about TPLF, there hasn't been one TPLF person that has been brought to justice, according to them. There has been, we don't know. The lights are cut out. They're attacking us in the dark. We don't know who's alive. We don't know who's dead. And that's what Abiy Ahmed is hiding. And I'm not advocating for hate. I'm advocating for peace. Like, again, cut this out. Let us in. Let us talk to our families. If he's going to claim 8 days ago where, he's captured the city, everything is fine, it's very hard for us to believe that because we cannot verify these sources. And he's told multiple countries, especially around the Horn. He told Uganda, no, we don't need help. He told Kenya, we don't need help. He told these other people to stay away. And the Redwan guy also said, we don't need any international involvement. We don't need a babysitter. What type of rhetoric is that? What type of TPLF junta? Where is this coming from? This ethnic profiling. Is this really what's best for Ethiopia? Of course not. If they really believe in this Ethiopianism ideology, you should work with one another to move forward. But now we're at a point where all sides are unwilling to work together. And unfortunately, the majority of people suffer the most. These refugees. My brother Hayalem is another example of somebody who was born in Sudan in a refugee camp. I have multiple Tagaru friends born in Sudan and Eritrean friends born in Sudan, and then we have to ask them again, do you know why you were born in Sudan? The history is repeating itself. So the UN should immediately go in there because their workers are getting shot at. There's international laws being broken. I don't know what else to say, honestly. Thanks, Ephrem.
Thank you so much. That was I'm so proud of you that you refer the constitutional written by a great-minded of the previous TPLF leaders, actually. But I don't think the current leader is able to read and understand what it says. But I'm so proud that you brought that our discussion. Thank you so much, Sanai. And Rahel, please continue in this regard.
Yeah, kind of like Hayalem said, the UN job is to protect and keep peace, and they're not doing that. Again, I know it takes the US, it takes the EU and these bigger countries and powers, these superpowers, to just say, hey, we need y'all to do something. Unfortunately, we have an idiot right now in power. And that's why it goes back to Abiy knowing when and where to do this. Because had he tried this maybe 6 months from now, it wouldn't have worked. But with this, the people we have in power here, Pompey, who's an idiot, I'm sorry, but he is, because originally as soon as it happened, his statement was it was TPLF fault. Without even researching, doing anything, it was just like, oh, it's their fault. And he shouldn't have had that position to begin with. But yeah, so we need people to care. Unfortunately, Biden still won't be in office for like another 30 days. He does have people that he is appointing to places that do understand what's going on and are on our side. And for people that's wondering what our side is, it's to stop this. We want our families to be able to be safe. We want water and electricity and phones and internets. We want someone that's a third party to come in and actually investigate, because even though we are from Tigray, we're not going to say, oh, okay, we'll just take whatever side they on. No, we want the UN to be able to come in and investigate and say, this is what really happened. Because at the same time, yes, we are from Tigray, and yes, that we want this to stop to our people. But if there are people on our side that are doing war crimes as well, they should be punished as well. They're killing innocent people and civilians. So it's not that we're only one-sided and only Abiy and them need to go. No, everyone that's done anything to harm any civilians, period, need to go. But the UN, like, I don't understand how your job is and your mission is one thing and you're not doing it. You're just kind of like, all right, well, we're just going to watch from here. You put out statements saying, he's committing war crimes, but you're not doing anything about it. And I don't see how we expect countries to continue to support the UN and fund the UN because our tax money goes to pay towards the UN. So my money, my taxes, you're using that as part of it to pay the UN, but the UN is not even caring to do anything. And like you said, we'll have another Syria, and that situation, it did fail. And we don't need that to happen again on a larger scale. I think there's like 9 million people in Tigray. That if what happens in Syria happens there, it's ridiculous. And the whole, like you said, the whole Horn will collapse. Ethiopia is the stable thing around it. So if Ethiopia becomes unstable, everything around it becomes unstable. And that's going to hurt the whole entire continent. So I just don't understand why the UN is not trying to do something, trying to stop. When it comes to Africa, it's like Africa is the last thought for everyone. It's kind of like, oh, they can handle it themselves, or, you know, who cares what they're doing over there? Because they don't consider us, they consider all to be third world countries, like even the ones that aren't, like out of South Africa. They still treat us all like we're not important and we're irrelevant compared to the US and the Europeans. And that's not the case. We need people to listen to what we're saying. We need the UN to step in. We need the US, the EU, and all of them to force the UN to step in, at the bare minimum, to get aid there and to stop what's going on.
Thank you, Rahel. That was a great idea. Thank you so much. So at the end, what I'm going to ask you is, I know we have addressed multiple issues, but I'm sure that we need to address more, something that I did not ask you. I'm going to give you a chance to speak about something that you think yourself, something that you can relay a message for the Tigrayan American diaspora, what they need to do, and also to your own representative, to the congressmen, to the senators, to the presidents, to the Antonio Guterres, UN director, to Tigray people at this time, for Eritreans, those who want a peace relationship with Tigrayan people, or something that you have in your mind to say something. I'll give you that chance before we end our conversation. I thank you so much. I will start the same thing, and then Mr. Hayalon, please continue. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Brother Ephrem. I think the first thing that I want to mention is, as a wake-up call, and this is to all Ethiopians, and in particular Tigrayans as well, our leaders have failed us. Whatever party they align to, it doesn't matter. The fact that we had 30 or so years of peace, although there were some conflicts here and there within Ethiopia proper, and we had a really strong economic growth. Our leaders failed us. They didn't strengthen our infrastructure. They didn't invest in our people. They didn't do a really good job of allowing those who are in poverty to get to the middle class. Many of them did enrich themselves. I think this is an opportunity for us to wake up and kind of realize that. And what is happening in Tigray right now is a really good indication of that. The fact that within 30 days the infrastructure could crumble, just like that, shows that they haven't done a good job of strengthening it. The fact that electricity, telecommunication, everything can be turned off just with a switch, that shows that we haven't done a good job of building that up. The wealth has not gotten to the people that need it. And the fact that you have over 2, 3, 4 million individual kids that are orphans all throughout Ethiopia shows that our leaders have failed us. I think that's the first wake-up call, is we do have to have a change in mindset, and we need new generational leaders to really step up within Ethiopia. I would say that's the first lesson that I'm learning as I'm getting closer to the ground and really kind of seeing this. And to the rest of the world, you know, it's interesting to me how the vast majority of people are religious. They belong either to Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, you know, Judaism, and etc. And the tenets of each of those religions is how sacred the human life is, how we're supposed to value each other, how we are supposed to love our neighbors. It doesn't matter It's a thread across all of these religions. To me, though, what I'm trying to fathom now, or come to the realization to, is that just a theory? Because when we are tested to really validate that, we don't do it. And you can see by the human toll across the world. And we mentioned several examples, whether it's Rwanda, whether it's in Libya, whether it's in Syria, doesn't matter, whatever part of the world you go to. And so for me, we are either going to be very serious about that and hold ourselves to an account, show that compassion, and be there for our brothers and sisters, and to protect and have that value of life, that it is equal regardless of the skin of their color or what part of the world that they're within. To me, these moments really challenge it, and I'm starting to question how serious we are about this. Especially one of the main reasons, and this is for the U.S. only, the conservatives always talk about this, how they are pro-life. It's sad to me when you are tested, you don't really care. Whether it is here and how COVID is being treated and the response around it, or when the administration, who has a great deal of evangelicals supporting him, are able to actually put pressure on Trump to say this is not acceptable. Because Ethiopia is also a holy ground when we think about the tenets of all these religions and how they've been founded and structured. But they're supposed to, that they turn a blind eye, and they're the ones that can change this when it comes to the amount of power and pressure that they can put on the UN to put a pressure on the prime minister. So your whole idea of pro-life is being tested right now. It seems like it's only convenient in political agendas, but not in reality. So, and I really do hope the rest of the world, you do something, because I don't know, I don't want another child to go through what I went through. I don't want another mother to go through what my mother went through. I don't want another grandmother crying because she lost her son or her daughter to an unnecessary war. And if we don't, we really do need to act. I don't know how much longer this is going to go. And it keeps us up at night. We have hundreds of people that are working on this. If we are not at ease and we're not even in it, we're watching from afar, I have no idea what that child who just had their neighbor bombed feels like. A child has to witness this at a very innocent age, when all they need to do is go outside, kick balls and throw rocks and just enjoy life. But instead, they're picking up the pieces of their friend, that may have been bombed. That's what these children are going through. It's sad. It has to stop.
Thank you, Brother Hayalam. I don't want to go anybody to go I went through too, because I know how the TPLF struggle was hard to overthrow the Derg administration. I've been there. I know how hard it was to fight. I have already bullets in my body from the Derg administration, from the Derg, because I'm Tigray, because I had to fight to them, because I wasn't able to speak my language, because I was. But right now, it's the worst, actually. People are, they got fired from, because their identity from Ethiopian Airlines. All Tigrayans are, they are going each individual houses of Tigrayan people to find out if there is something in their house. That's annoying. And not only in Ethiopia, but also in the United States, in the embassy of Ethiopia in the United States. They have fired 5-6 Tigrinya speakers. If they have done this here, look what they are doing in Tigray. Look how the haters are now. The Ethiopian government, the president, doesn't even say anything about the woman that they are suffering, the kids that they are suffering in Sudan. They think it's just a victory because Tigray people are dying. It's a victory. How in the earth? Thank you, Mr. Hayalov. You just mentioned very touching and very important stuff that I need to say something about it. Mahalit, go ahead, it's yours. I'm sorry.
Absolutely, thank you. Just to echo what you were just saying about claiming victory. I think it was on November 28th that he claimed, or Abiy Ahmed put out a statement declaring victory. I think it's interesting that The main objective of this enforcement operation was never fulfilled, yet somehow this is a victory. And in the meantime, the people of Tigray continue to suffer. And we are still claiming Ethiopia prevails somehow. Somehow, as people are being bombed, somehow as humanitarian aid is being blocked, somehow as the lights are, the electricity is turned off, internet is cut off, people don't have access to their own money in their bank accounts. Somehow that's Ethiopia prevailing. And so I think at the end of the day, it's like Hailom said, very much a wake-up call for all Tagaru. This is a moment in history that we all can step back, reevaluate, and really rethink how important it is that we go back, invest in our people, invest in our roots, because whatever this ends up turning into, at the end of the day, we can always count on each other. I think that's one thing is leaning on each other and really staying strong in this moment. And with that, I would also make sure that you are involved. As Tagaru, we need to make sure that in this movement, we are very involved. There's a standwithtigray.com. It's a website that has been developed with very easy daily tweet templates. There's email campaigns. There's phone banking sessions. There are petitions that you can sign. There's no way that you can't be involved. Like there's every resource, every channel, every way that you'd like, whether it's your talent or your expertise or your skills, you can always contribute to this movement of protecting our people and really making our voice heard. So I think right now is a moment in history where all Tagaru are really taking a step back and saying, this is a time where we focus on us, on reflecting and really bringing up our people and empowering and amplifying their voice.
Thank you, Mahalit. Thank you so much. That was a very good idea. Sanai, please continue.
Absolutely. Again, to echo what they've already said, is the wake-up call. There is a call to action, to call our local legislators to tweet. We have hundreds of people pitching in and chipping in, Yes, this is a wake-up call for all Tagarus, but at the same time, sadly, it should be a wake-up call for all of Ethiopia. Where's the Eritrean community speaking out against this? Where's the Amhara community speaking out against this? A lot of Amhara people are dying too. That's very sad. It's very unfortunate. There's reports of the OLF, the Oromo uprising too. Like these people deserve a voice at the table too. So they should be speaking out against this violence. Everybody should. It can't be just us. And Ephrem, I'm sorry you have to go through this again. Our families have to go through this again. It's very sad. It's a disaster. But we need this call to action to wake up and to fight for what's right. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people depending on us. There's a lot of people who can't say anything right now. God knows what's happening to them, and they tell me too. They're like, Sunlight, please, you have to do something for us, Even our local elders are saying that, It's a lot of pressure, but the least I can do is to voice my concerns, is to fight back, digital way on it, whatever you want to call it, This is a very important time in our lives to come together, to unify, to fight for what's right. Again, it doesn't take a genius to say no to war. We want to stop the war on Tigray, stop the Tigray genocide. Yeah, that's it, Ephrem.
Thank you, Sanai. Thank you so much. Rahel, please. It's your turn. You are on mute. Okay.
Okay, yeah. I think the thing for at least the people here in Atlanta or Georgia, actually, like me and Hailom, one of the things you can be doing is, I know I have, is reaching out to these senators that are trying to win these last 2 senator seats. You want our vote? Then you need to tell me how you're going to help my country. So I know I've been harassing them. I send them an email every day. So if other people can do it, hey, just send an email. What is your point? I know Kelly Loeffler already responded, and basically she kind of was like, it doesn't really affect me, or kind of basically is what she said. I wasn't voting for her anyway, but she definitely is not going to get it now. Purdue, the same thing. They said that they'll take it up after the new year. Okay, well, after the new year, how many more people will be dead? We don't know what this conflict will turn into. Raphael Warnock, people said they will get back to me because they wanted to speak with him. And the same thing with John Ossoff. So yeah, that's one outlet here in Georgia, is you want our vote, then you need to tell me how you're going to help. I've never been one not to vote in my almost 40 years, but this will be the election I won't vote in, because if you can't help my people, then I don't need you in office. I'm not going to help you get in office. Also, I think, like, you know, everyone said, the phone banking, the emails, the tweets, all of that is important. I know it doesn't seem like it because you're thinking I'm one person, but when thousands of us do it, then it does make a difference. It makes people want to look. It makes people want to be like, well, what's going on? I also think that beyond Tigray, beyond Ethiopia, we need to reach out to people outside of our groups. Like, we need more American people to care. We need more Europeans to care, whatever the case may be, because if it's just us, we're never going to make a difference. So I know me personally, my friends know I was always a proud Ethiopian. Like that was one thing they knew about Rahel, if they knew nothing else. So I've been talking to my friends, hey, sign this petition. Hey, can you tweet this for me? Hey, can you do this? Even my husband's American, and he's done videos and everything else to kind of push the narrative of, hey, we need people to pay attention. He's actually shot some PSA stuff that we're going to put out too. But everyone has to care. It can't just be us, because if it's just us, it's not enough. We need everyone in our communities that are supposed to be our friends, that are like family. We need all of them to step up. I remember growing up, my dad used to say that we were the lucky ones. And I just assumed it was because we were in America and the rest of our family was in Ethiopia still. I didn't think nothing. That was what my thought was as an 8-year-old child. As I got older, I realized what he meant. My dad fled the war after getting shot. My brother was born in a refugee camp. I would ask my parents about things like, oh, how was your wedding and stuff? Because I was a kid. I didn't understand. And they're like, oh, we just got married at the refugee camp. Things like that. And the trauma that I see my mom going through again, not sleeping now, thinking about everything and having flashbacks of what her and my father went through. I can't even imagine like this happening again, almost, I guess, 30 something years later, and we're doing the same thing. And like Hayalem said, our infrastructures weren't strong enough. And a lot of that is Ethiopia pretends to be a democracy when it's really not. So we try to say that we're going to vote, we're going to be a democracy, we're going to do this. But why does the government control the electricity? Why does the government control the phone services and the internet services? Why are those run by the state? If it's a true democracy, then it should be outside companies, people competing for these bids and it should be other companies. It shouldn't be under the control of the government. So I think after all of this is done, like Ethiopia has to take a hard look at itself and say, hey, this is what we need to fix to keep this from happening again. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rahel. That was a good specific examples that we need to do. Thank you so much. So, I mean, everything has been said. We just need someone to hear us. We need immediate ceasefire to stop all these hostilities that are going in Tigray. For all inclusive national dialogue for peaceful resolution. We need that. International community to urgently call the speed and not Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki by their name. They are dictators, they are invaders. There is no such a thing that no one can call them. Those are dictators. The Isaias government, Isaias Afwerki, has been known for the last 30 years. His people are all over in Tigray. They were in a good situation in Tigray than in Eritrea. Now they are the same. Multiple Eritreans has been displaced for the last 30 years. He's a very known dictator. He does nothing for Eritrea but killing. No private televisions, no private, no freedom of speech, nothing. They cannot do anything. How could you have a friendship with Isaias Afwerki when there are a lot of people that they do a lot of things for their own people? Look, Rwanda, the Rwanda president, how he changed his country. Abiy Ahmed, he doesn't go with those kinds of leaders. He doesn't want to do a good thing. So we need to take all necessary sanctions against both of those dictator leaders. We need to stand on the side of innocent people of Tigray. It has been drawn into unconstitutional and unjust invasion in Tigray. So we demand all parties to desist from all military and other form of aggressions. They need to sit around the table and discuss something. So you guys have been saying a lot of stuff. So I just asking the high officials, the governments, the UN directors, and everyone to do the same, deploy troops around the Tigray borders so the people of Tigray can have all necessary medical supplies, electricity, and telephone. We don't know about our family whereabouts. I don't know if they are died, or I don't know if they are dying in their house because they don't have no food anymore. It's been 34 years. And as you know, there is no refrigerator in each individual of house to store food. So it's not like United States that you can have a lot of packed food in your house so you can survive for 30 days or 60 days. That's not how it works in Africa. They need to understand those American leaders and world leaders. People don't have food to store in their house that keep them for more than 30 days to survive. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of devastating history when the internet is open. Maybe we'll find a lot of people are dying in their house. Kids, pregnant women will be having a birth in their house. Maybe dying because of bleeding. We will hear a lot of devastating history soon when the internet is open, when the phone is open. I don't know what I'm going to hear about my sister, about my brother, about my family. So we need to work on, we need to talk about this every day. People are dying there. People are fighting for their freedom until those invaders of the Ethiopian troops and Eritrean troops came out from Tigray. And the Tigray Professional Network members, leaders, I do really appreciate for being with me with Cyber Power of Tigray. I appreciate it, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brother Ephrem, for this opportunity. And if I may, for just a quick second, I want to thank all the people. There have been hundreds, if not even thousands, of people that are working on trying to protect lives, not political agenda. There is an international coalition that we've been able to build, and we have representation all throughout the US, South, also we have coalitions in Europe, throughout Asia. What we are seeing for the first time is a unity amongst diaspora Tigrayans that has never occurred before. And I think to me, that is an inspiration. When this settles, the world will have to keep watch of what the people of Tigray are going to be able to do when we get back home. And it's not just about Tigray, what we will be able to do for the people of Ethiopia in general. There's one thing Sanai said earlier. For all of the pragmatic Ethiopians out there, without you being involved, lives will still be spilled. You have to be involved. We are your brothers and sisters. We should not allow states and tribes and affiliation get in the way. When I bleed, you should bleed. When you bleed, I'm bleeding. And that is what we have to do and think about. It's the human life. Your brother and sister, because many of the Ethiopians have intermarriage relationships. There are children who are half Oromo, half Tigrayans, half Amhara, half Oromo, or all three combined, or any part of that region. So the only way this is going to stop is it cannot just be Tigrayans. And I love that you mentioned that earlier, Sanai. It cannot just be Tigrayans. All Ethiopians have to wake up. Because if we allow this to happen, which region is next? Is it Amharas that are going to be next? Is it Oromos that are going to be next? Is it Somalia that's going to be next? Who's next? Right? Because this kind of thing cannot persist. We have to broker peace. And so I really do urge, I'm glad you brought that up earlier. I urge all of the pragmatic Ethiopians, we have to stand in solidarity. Because if we do not, then one of our other region is going to be next. You know, revenge seeks revenge. And so we have to stop this, and we have to do this together.
Thank you, brother Hayalon. Okay, if any of you have something to say, I will give you and go ahead and give you 1 minute, 2 minutes. If you guys all, I think our discussion is done too.
I just want to say thank you, Ephrem.
Right.
Thank you, Hayalam.
Thank you.
I love working with you guys all the time. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.